As most of you who played Arkham City probably already know, there is an Easter egg in which you can discover that Harley Quinn is pregnant. For those of you who don't know, when you go to the room in the steel mill where the Joker and Harley are hiding out, you can see Harley's costume from the first game. If you look down the floor next to it, you can see a pregnancy test that reads positive. Originally, I wasn't sure if this was just a gag they decided to throw in there, or if they were planning on using that as a plot device for a possible sequel. However, as some of you may also know, Harley can be heard singing to a baby in the end credits. That got me really excited. I thought that would be a great storyline for the next Arkham game. Then I heard that they were making a DLC, Harley Quinn's Revenge, which takes place after the ending of the main campaign where Joker dies. I was a little disappointed that Joker's death and or Harley's baby would be used for a DLC rather than an actual sequel, but I still thought it was cool nonetheless. When the DLC was announced, I went to go buy a used copy from GameStop. I had previously sold my original copy after I finished the game. It didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. It looked just like any other used game you would buy. For about a month, I played it, completing Riddler challenges and various side missions in the main campaign. I noticed absolutely nothing wrong with it. All my original save data was there and everything. There were only two minor differences that I noticed. The first one was normally you could see the Penguin trapped in the glass exhibit case in the museum, where Batman puts him after the Solomon Grundy boss. But this time he wasn't there. I didn't really make anything of it. I figured it was just a glitch, but the next thing I noticed was just a little bit stranger. If you go to the movie theater where you fight Clayface, you can go inside and end up in the basement where you fight the second phase of the boss. The first thing that was weird about this is that normally after beating the game you can't go back into the theater at all, and second, as soon as you walk through the door, you just skip right to the basement. The final boss music was still playing and the Lazarus pit was still there, but Clayface himself wasn't. I wasn't able to find a way out of the basement, so I just had to reset the game. Neither of those things concerned me. In fact, they may as well just be plain glitches, and not connected to the rest of the story at all. Eventually, when the DLC was released, I downloaded it, and I still noticed nothing was wrong, until I got to the room where the Easter egg was originally found. I already knew there would be a different Easter egg this time. I saw it in the walkthrough on YouTube prior to encountering it. What's normally supposed to happen is that in the center of the room you can see a crib with a Joker doll inside it, and a bunch of discarded pregnancy tests that all read negative. And in the crib itself you can see a box to the pregnancy test that reads, "Warning, test may result in false positive." That's what I was expecting to see, but instead what I got was something entirely different. There were no pregnancy tests lying around, and there was something different inside the crib. Along with the Joker doll, there was a small limp figure lying face down, and what looked like small bloodstains around it. It was wearing purple, and it was a bit smaller than the Joker doll. I zoomed the camera on it, and it looked a lot like a baby, only it was too small to be an actual baby. But at this point I noticed there was no sound. The TV wasn't even muted. This is when I started to be concerned. Then I noticed an action icon had appeared at the bottom of the screen. It read, "Check." Curious, I pressed it, and the camera stayed in Batman's perspective as he grabbed the figure. The head and limbs sank down lifelessly as he picked it up. He turned it around so that the camera could see it, and it was indeed a baby. Batman gasped in shock and my heart froze. It was clearly dead, and it wasn't just a generic looking baby. It was a newborn, as in few days old newborn. It was scary how close it looked to an actual newborn child, and how lifeless it looked. It wasn't decomposed or anything, but there were light bloodstains on it, and it just looked so lifeless. Not moving an inch, the head and limbs sagging. It looked like an inanimate object. Batman held the baby for a few seconds, then there was a shrill scream that made me jump out of my skin. Then there was a bang, and Batman suddenly dropped the baby back into the crib as he fell to the ground. The camera stayed in his perspective as he lied on the ground. You could see a baseball bat lying next to him, as well as Harley's feet facing the crib, as if she was leaning on it. The scream clearly came from her, and she was crying uncontrollably. The cries sounded very genuine and distress. I couldn't even tell if it was the same voice actress or not. Then the picture faded to black, and when it came back the camera was still in Batman's perspective. He was lying on the floor of the Joker shrine seen later in the DLC, and in the background you can faintly hear Only You as sung by Joker in the end credits. All I was able to do was control the camera. I couldn't move from where I was lying. I happened to be focusing the camera on the glass ball that the Joker statue was holding, where Batman was originally kept. Only I noticed Joker was inside it instead. He was propped up against the side of the ball, and his head was facing downward, obviously because he was dead. I kept the camera on him for a few seconds, then I noticed his head began to look upward. I was far off in the distance, so you wouldn't have noticed it unless you happened to be paying attention to it. That's when I lost it. With my heart racing, I flew from my chair and ejected the disc from the system, and put it back in the case. I wasn't sure if I should trade it back into the GameStop from where I got it from, or just not play it again. I just threw it in my closet until I can make a decision. I still don't know what to do with it. It's been in my closet ever since. I don't know if it's that specific copy or if the previous owner had tampered with it, or if somebody tampered with the download itself somehow, if that's even possible, or what it could have been. All I know is that I won't be playing that specific copy again until I figure out what to do with it.